Good morning, 8x2. It's Friday, another week done. Hooray! I hope you're all doing well and that you're keeping healthy and safe and doing as well as can be expected in a time of a global pandemic and home learning and the rest of it. So here we are. We're going to continue with our study of Oliver Twist. Let's turn to that now. So we're going to continue with Oliver Twist today, moving on to chapter 2. I mean, it's not the second chapter of the novel. It's the second chapter of our kind of condensed version that kind of shrinks down to something that we can realistically complete in one lesson a week over this half term. So why don't we turn to that now? There's a PowerPoint for you to follow along in as well. Okay, so let's turn to our PowerPoint for today. You can see here at the opening slide, you have this on your team's assignment. This is a scene from the stage version of Oliver, in case you didn't know. I want you to begin with the starter. What can you tell me about poverty and inequality in the novel so far? So think back to what we've read, the first chapter of the novel, and then the kind of summarized chapter 1 as well. And write a sentence or two, a bullet point or two about poverty and about inequality. Where do you see that some people seem to be enjoying a better life than others, for example? So do that now, and then we'll continue with the rest of the PowerPoint. Okay, so we're going to read chapter 2 of our summarized version of Oliver Twist. So remember, it's not the actual chapter 2 of the proper novel. It's the second chapter, which condenses, shrinks down the whole novel to something we can realistically finish in one lesson a week in a half term. Okay? While we're reading this, or more specifically while you're reading this, have these 3 bullet points in mind. What problems in society is Dickens highlighting? So he's really trying to point out to the reader that there are things that are wrong in his society. What do you think he's trying to pick out? Try and find at least one thing to write down and comment on. Second bullet, what character traits do Oliver and Noah demonstrate? So last lesson you worked on filling in a grid and you wrote down some aspects of Oliver's character. What kind of a person is he? And how do you know that? Well, you're going to carry that on. If you find more evidence of Oliver being a certain type of person, write it down. But also keep an eye out for this new character, Noah. And finally, the third bullet, maybe the trickiest one, what do we see about childhood and adulthood? So, Dickens might be saying something about what it's like to be a child in the Victorian time period. So, reading the chapter, what does childhood look like to you? How does it compare to being a child today? Okay, if you think that Oliver Twist is, about your age, roughly, how does his life compare to yours? So again, write a bullet point or two, a couple sentences about that. The rest of the PowerPoint has the chapter in it, so you can read it from the PowerPoint. You could also use the reading booklet that you were assigned last assignment. I'm going to put it in the file section as well, so you'll find it there. But you can read from the PowerPoint if the device you're working from has a large enough screen. Okay? So you just read through each slide, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's the entire second chapter. And at the very end here, you've got a summary of what's happened in this part of the novel. Okay, so you can read through this and then again link it back to the questions that are here, these 3 bullet points. Okay, that's it for today. So read through the PowerPoint, read all the slides that have the chapter 2 in it. And all I'm asking you to turn into Teams as evidence of your work for today is your answer, your notes to those 3 main questions. Okay, just some evidence that you read it and you try to engage with it. And you might find it a challenge. You might struggle a little bit with some of the language or with what's happening, but give it your best shot. Okay. I'm hoping that next week we might be able to arrange this as a live lesson, and then we'll be able to work together in reading through the chapter and understanding what's happening. But for today, good luck. If you have any real problems, any serious difficulties, please, by all means, email me, send me a message and say that you don't understand what's happening. But I think if you read it through twice even to make sure and do your best to answer these questions, you should be able to get on with it. So good luck and see you next week.